style if you've ever spoken at a city council. All right, so we're going to do our intent right for today is to hear from you, know your thoughts and concerns, especially right now as we head into the legislative session, which begins in February. We do read everything we receive from you, and we do receive thousands of calls, emails, social media comments, everything per month, as you, I'm sure, know. But as far as what's new at OMMA, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to work on standing here and not moving around. We've staffed up this year, as you know, if you follow us on Facebook. We've staffed up mostly in our compliance department so that we can get out and make sure that we are inspecting every dispensary, every processor, every grow facility, every lab. We've gone from a little less than 100 employees to over 260, and we are in a really good place. But what we've had to focus on, of course, is the training of those employees. So we are doubling down on training right now to make sure that everyone knows what they're doing when they're out in the field, and that we are making sure that we are focusing on safe products reaching the dispensary ultimately to affect patient health and safety. I see lots of live streaming, so hello to the people out there in Facebook land. I wanted to make sure you guys know that we also have an embargoed and recalled products page on our on our OMMA website. Our OMMA website has undergone a tremendous overhaul this year. I hope you checked it out. But if you are, I wasn't sure if I would be able to click on this today, and I'm not able to, but there is a spot on our page where you would be taken directly to a list of all embargoed and recalled products. So as a patient, you would be able to see all products that our labs team and legal team have identified as products that needed to be taken from dispensary shelves. We also have a transparency project. That is where we pull all the data that we've received from Metric, and it is available to you to see. I wish I could click on it, but I will work on that. It's data pulled from Metric that shows you exactly how many plants are being grown in Oklahoma, how much, maybe, Jaren, can you click on that? Perfect. As he's doing that, I'll keep talking about some other things going on. We have been an independent state agency for just about 11 weeks now, so that has been a wild ride. I know that if you haven't worked in state government, that probably just sounds like words that maybe don't mean a whole lot, but it's similar in the business world to divesting your business. So let's say you were one big business and you pulled off and you became two. That's what we did. And we did it in a span of 6 months. So it was done very quickly. We did it with the support of other state agencies like OMMA. The State Department of Health also did support us because we were able to divest completely by November 1st. We divested all finance, legal, HR, all of those functions so that we can be an independent agency as of November 1st. What that means to you as patients is that the buck literally stops with us. There is no responsibility left with the State Department of Health. The responsibility lies with the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority as far as everything is involved with regulating the industry, licensing patients, licensing businesses. So this is the transparency project that we are really excited to unveil. It's a dashboard that utilizes all data that is pulled from Metric. And Jaren, if you can just kind of scroll through and show everything that's on there. It's updated regularly to show you everything that we have going on in the industry, including top retail sales. It's really small, I'm sorry, but every month, you can go on and find this on our website, but every month you'll see that flower and buds is the largest by far of retail sales in dispensaries. It's at 46% in December, with vape cartridges as the second. 13%.
flour. And then 13% vape cartridges. I'm not sure, that looks a little bit wonky.
I think it's the color.
Yeah. It looks a little different on the screen, but if you look at it on your own screen, I hope that you will be able to tell. Anyway, look at it. I hope you'll look at it on your own screens. And we're continuously updating this. We're getting to the point where it will be updated weekly. The point of this is to give you more information about what's going on in the industry constantly. Okay, will you just scroll up and over? What will be coming next is, okay, that's fine. What will be coming next is some flags. So you'll start seeing the flags that we're receiving. And what that will show you is how we're utilizing this data. We're going to utilize this data to inform our inspections. It's going to show us how we should go out into the field. So if we are receiving information about one particular, let's say, grower that is continuously sending more and more of their biomass to waste, for example, we're going to flag that and we're going to go out and we're going to check them out. And we're going to prioritize that. So we're going to start getting those flags based on this data that we're pulling, and we're really excited to be able to share that with you. So wanted to let you know that that's on the horizon. And of course, as I read through all the questions that the people, all of you that registered for this, there were about 250. I think this was the only town hall that maxed out. I can tell that you're not all in this room right now, so maybe some of you are still trickling in, but we received about 290 comments and questions for this exact town hall. And as I read through those, the majority of them dealt with State Question 820, so I want to get ahead of that and let you guys know just a few things. I want to let you know that as a state government employee and as a state agency director, I can't actually say much about a state question. That's an ethics law. I cannot say much about it. I can't advocate for or against it. I can let you know that if 820 passes, we have no choice but to be prepared to implement it, because 820 would put the recreational program under our regulatory authority. So the vote on March 7th, if it passes, would put recreational under our authority. I can say that. And that's really all I can say about that. But as an Oklahoman and someone who has voted a lot and read a lot of state questions, I would encourage you just to really read it. Read every single word. Don't just read the gist. Read the whole thing. And that is all I can really say about that. I do want to brag on our compliance team. They worked really hard, and I'll get into some details later, but we staffed up enough to send our inspectors out to every single facility for the first time in OMMA history. We are still working on the results of those inspections. We still have a lot of investigations going on as the results of those inspections. But I will say, when I came in August of 2021, it was a pipe dream to even get to 100% of the locations. And the fact that we have done it is an amazing feat that is the result of a lot of hard work. And I want to stop there and make sure you all know that we have some amazing OMMA staff over here and over here. So I am not going to call them each out by name because I don't want to put targets on their back, but I want to let you know that we have some really dedicated, hardworking state government employees that we are lucky to have. A lot of these, a lot of people that have chosen to work at OMMA right now are not your typical just bureaucrats. You know, they're people who have chosen to be here because they care about either the work that they're doing, or they care about they care about helping grow the agency and they care about seeing it go the right way. So we've got some people in this room who work every single day to make OMMA better. And I just want to let you know that. So the first couple rows over here, first couple rows over here. So please just know that you've got people working really hard every single day at OMMA. Licensing data, we update this every month. I'm sure if you're in this room, you're someone who is plugged in and you see this every month. This is no surprise to you, but our patient numbers have gone down. You'll see year over year, we're a little over 10,000 down from last year. I don't really have an explanation for that. You guys might know better than me why. But we're also down in business numbers. But we do still have over 11,700 commercial businesses licensed by OMMA in Oklahoma. This is a heat map that we put together with our data team. So as of November 2022, you'll see this is a representation of all the dispensaries across Oklahoma. Processors. And I want you to brace yourself before I move to the next one. You ready?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, so we will move on to the excise tax discussion. I know that this is the community that pays that excise tax. You pay it at the dispensary level. So there, of course, you want to know where that excise tax goes, and we are here to talk about that today. State Question 788 said that 7% excise tax will be paid at the dispensary level, and that goes to fund the state regulatory body. Anything that's left over after the regulatory body is funded goes to, 75% goes to the general fund for education, 25% goes to drug and alcohol rehab versus the State Department of Health. I don't know if you can, I think you guys can see that pretty well. But it shows you the year over year excise tax revenue collections, and you'll see for 23 we are lower. It's that darker red line on collections. This is the part that OMMA is accountable for, and we will talk in more detail in a moment about where this goes. This is the part we are not accountable for, but I still want to tell you about it. Your city government, your county government, they're accountable for this piece, but it's still important for us to give you this information because you pay this at the dispensary level. So these state and local tax dollars go to funds for your city and counties. And again, you'll see the fiscal year 23, the dark red, is lower than the previous 2 years. All right, and this is where we will get into budget talk. Oh no, I'm sorry about that. I must have copied something over the, oops. Okay, this is what happens when you get a little old, you know, and don't know how to use technology as well. Okay, so the point of this, though, is to show you each fiscal year. I'm laughing at myself for this. All right, the blue is the medical marijuana excise tax collections. The light green is the patient license fees, and the dark green is the commercial license fees. So the most recent one, the fiscal year 22, so the state runs on fiscal years, which goes from July 1 to June 30 every year. So the most recent fiscal year wrapped up June 30, 2022. So what I'm showing you here is that state fiscal year 22 was down a bit from 21 on all collections, just for your information. But this shows you exactly in graph form where those funds go. You will see that about 50% of the funding that we take goes to our personnel costs. About 40% goes to contracts. So those contracts are for QA lab, seed to sale tracking, data analytics, licensing portal, license card printing, mail services, our office space lease, vehicle leases. Then we have IT, which is IT equipment, computers, phones, telecom equipment, data processing software, IT equipment maintenance. And then the other category includes travel and other minor expenses that take to run a state agency. Excuse me. In fiscal year 22, which ended in the end of January, we expended about $29 million. So the remainder of the collections went to the legislature to appropriate, which is about, I think there's about $60 million sitting in the revolving fund. So as of right now, excuse me, there are about $60 million sitting in the revolving fund. Last year, there was $12 million sent to the Department of Mental Health for a mental health program that they ended up using some of the funds called Own Your Power that goes to an education campaign around teen and preteen vaping and smoking. And then we also sent money to the Office of Juvenile Affairs regarding the Family Functional Therapy Program, which I think you guys are aware of. The legislature is looking at how to appropriate the funds this next year and has, there are a lot of discussions around how to appropriate the funds this next year that come in regarding the medical marijuana tax and license fees. I will say that. Barrett, is there anything else that I've missed on that? Okay. On rules and legislation, we have a link on our website where you can always find a comprehensive list of everything going on during legislative session. And Jaren, if you could please click that link for me. And just kind of scroll through. I wanted to give you guys a picture of what this looks like so you will always be able to find it. Barrett gives you an overview of how the legislative session works if you haven't experienced it. Oops. So just click on one of the arrows maybe for 2022. Nope. Click on the arrow for 2022. Yeah, drop down arrow. That. All right, when you scroll down, you'll see all the legislation that passed in 2022. So we try to always keep up with legislation on your behalf. All right, go back to the PowerPoint, please. And a couple of highlights from the most recent legislative session would be House Bill 3019 and Senate Bill 1367 as far as patients are concerned. So I believe if you are involved at the legislature, I'm sure we're involved with talking to your legislators about these bills. If not, that is something I'd like to encourage you guys to do. I know that we have such a large patient community, such a large commercial community. There hasn't been a lot of organized voices just yet. I know you're working on it, but that is something that's so important for everyone to get out and talk to your legislators. It's too late once the bill has been signed by the governor. It's too late to come to me and tell me that you don't like it. It's too late to go to your legislator and tell them you don't like it unless you're ready to come back and suggest a different language. So make sure you're getting ahead of those kind of things, talking to your legislators ahead of legislative session if you'd like to see something change at the legislature. But a few bills have been filed already, and let me see, tomorrow is the filing deadline. So we will see a slew of bills filed by tomorrow's filing deadline. And the way the rules work at the legislature, they will continue to file language over the next few weeks as committee work begins and the legislature starts their real work. But we did file our permanent rules, we started our permanent rulemaking process on October 25th. We opened up that rulemaking period from November 15th to December 15th. There was that rulemaking comment period at the Capitol on December 15th where Barrett was there to accept public comment, and we've been going through all comments received. So I know we received comments through public comment, through online, through email, lots of different ways, and we've compiled all of them. I don't think Ashley's here because she's probably Ashley is here, okay. Ashley Kroll is our legislative liaison, and she has compiled all of them, and we are going through every single one, and we'll respond to every single one, and then we will, at that point, file the rules with the legislature to be considered during the legislative session. All right, I asked Lee's team to put together an update on what the lab team has been doing, just so you guys would have a high-level overview, because the lab department affects you all as patients directly, as you know. I mean, everything we do at OMMA affects you directly, but the labs are that last step. And we have been working hard, and Lee's department has been working hard to make sure that they are doing the due diligence to hold labs accountable. So in 2022, they did 18 total inspections. They spend about 3 to 4 days on site at every single inspection. The reason that fact is in there is because every single inspection is a thorough, deep dive into the lab, their SOPs, their instruments. Every single corner of the lab is inspected. Then the lab team spends 3 to 4 weeks reviewing data and documents. They have done 2 pre-licensure inspections, 4 deep dive investigations, which resulted in a surrendered license, and 3 are still in progress. 3 recalls have been done on marijuana and marijuana products as well, based on those investigations. They've done several referrals as well to our compliance department, to our enforcement and investigations department, Department of Ag, and to the fire marshal in Oklahoma City. We've built relationships this year, thank goodness, with several different agencies that have resulted in mutual referrals that are helping us identify pesticides that are being used. There have been some really good wins this year on identifying some soils that just should not be used to grow marijuana, and we've been getting the word out across the industry. All right, metric. The lab department has been a key in digging deep into why there was a bottleneck at the lab level with metric. They worked 904 metric tickets. They're down to approximately 80 a week at this point, and they're gathering and evaluating testing data from metric. And they can look at results by commercial licensees as well as by lab, and they are doing that. They are currently analyzing very high THC potency levels, meaning we have graphs that are identifying which labs are putting out extraordinarily high THC potency levels. We're seeing which labs are putting out outlier numbers on pesticides, heavy metals, and residual solvents. So once we identify those become our priority labs to inspect and investigate. We're also working, of course, on lab standardization. This was a legislative mandate, but something we already had on our radar to work on anyway. But the process began in November 2022, and the lab, several labs have been coming together with Lee to work on standardization. And what will occur is that every single lab licensed by OMMA will have standard processes in place. They will have the same instrumentation and the same way of doing things, and that will cut down on human error completely. So we are looking forward to getting that project finished. The legislature gave us a timeline. We would love to get ahead of that timeline, but we are, of course, going to meet, if not exceed, the legislative timeline. And then our compliance department, the department that has grown the very most this year and is headed by Michelle Reddish, who has completely just turned the department around, and I'm so proud of the progress this department has made this year. She split the department by regions. We have 6 regions across the state, and they did, as you can see, the totals. The bottom right, over 10,432 inspections in 2022. And we did the 100% inspection rate was April 2021 to May 2022 as far as who was in metric, and that's how we gauged our 100% inspection rate. We also are legally required to do operational status visits. This is a statutory requirement, and this is just a check to see if a licensee is operationally just operating. We are working with the legislature to firm up that language so we can hopefully do these at the same time in the future. But this shows that we did over 11,400 of these in 2022. The compliance department has a total of 99 field staff at this point, with 8 audit staff and 84 compliance staff. Or excuse me, 84 compliance inspectors. But I want to give you a few highlights on what's really the good things that are happening in that department that directly affect you. This department is utilizing the data that we have, the data that we never had before, to help drive our inspections, to help inform how we should be inspecting. So they are using that data to look at the flowering time, the harvest weight discrepancies, and they're looking at those flags to see whether a flowering time was either longer or shorter than what would be expected, and prioritizing inspections based on that. They're also looking at harvest weight discrepancies. When a harvest goes through metric, it needs to be weighed right when it's cut down, so that's the wet weight, as well as after it was dried and it's packaged, so the dry weight. Waste material may also be recorded for each harvest, so this flag indicates when the dried weight and waste weight are more than what was originally recorded as the wet weight. This is a flag that NCS Analytics will be showing us and helping us inform our inspections. Our complaints team is working with our legal team, which has grown tremendously this year as well. We built an entire administrative hearing department, and we are doing administrative hearings for the first time this year in 2022. And we're also working with Bureau of Narcotics on non-compliant licensure activity. This week is a busy week for everyone involved with OMMA. It's kind of crazy, but our compliance team is in metric training all week this week, right? Everyone, every region, yep. And then our licensees are also able to do metric training. Is it Friday? Okay. We have a metric webinar this Friday for all licensees. And then we are partnering with NCS Analytics, as I showed on the transparency dashboard, but we have a team of employees in the compliance department that is working to utilize that data. That's the whole point. We're utilizing that to inform our inspections. All right, so what I want to do is wrap up my remarks. We got a lot of questions. I want to just give some high level. As I said earlier, on 820, I really can't give you my opinion. I can't tell you much other than we have to be prepared if it passes. I got a lot of questions about what we're doing for patients and what OMMA is, how we help patients. And I do want to let you know, a lot of the reason we're doing this town hall, the reason we just threw this together, we were planning to have a big conference this month. And actually on this day, we were planning to have a big conference. When the Senate bill passed to make us a standalone agency, as you can imagine, all of our attention and our resources went there. They were sucked up real quick. Not only that, the ability to procure things became really messy. We weren't able to sign contracts when we were in the in-between of one state agency to the next. So we had to put that off. We're still going to have a conference, and in fact, we're planning more. We're gonna have a bigger and better 2023 than anything we've planned. But we wanted to do the town halls today and tomorrow just to kick off 2023. We're gonna have a conference this year. We're going to have some statewide listening sessions later this year where we travel the state. We are going to do more. We're going to have some roundtables. So that's why we're doing this today. It's not to replace more engagement with you guys. It's just to kick it off. But we are planning more education. We do know that there is a big void there, and we're looking for the right people to do that. We are actively and intentionally engaging with the medical community, finding the right people who are actually doing the research to work with us to help work with the medical community, because you know there's also a big void there. So what I'm gonna do now is stop talking and open the floor. And I know that we have a sign-up list, and so there is somebody that is going to call you up. And I believe we have it set like City Hall where it's 3 minutes and somebody will tell you when your time's up. Who am I looking at to do that? Naomi?
I'm calling you people.
Okay. Thank you, John Kubis.
Okay, so speaker number 1 is John Frazier.
Yeah, let's not start the time until, okay, yeah. So make sure, a few housekeeping things, make sure you unmute the mic when you come up there so that it will be recorded, because we are recording this. I haven't said that before. And we will start the time once you start talking. And I'll say this now, since we don't have a full room like we had expected, we will be able to give more people some time if you weren't able to sign up. But let's stick to the 3 minutes for now, since that was the plan, but we'll be able to be a little flexible at the end.
Am I hot? Okay, cool, I'm rocking. Okay, let's go. My name is John Frazier. They call me old school. I am one of the many, many patients here in Oklahoma, and you can call me a proud pothead, because the reason I say that is I say cannabis did save my life. I was on 6 10-milligram hydrocodones a day. I was on 4 Xanax, Seroquel, Neurontin, the whole salad that they give people. I got off all those drugs, all those pharmaceuticals with cannabis. For 12 years, I was scared to death to take a drug test because that's how I got my hydrocodone and stuff. If I tested positive for weed or cannabis, they would threaten to take that drug that I thought I needed away from me. That was just went all over me. Every month I had to go and pee in front of somebody. I had to do the cup. Now, it's really irritating if you get a false positive for cannabis, because they shove that paper in your face and they accuse you of using cannabis. That's ridiculous. So 4 years ago, I got off all that with cannabis. Now, when I first started this, I just wanted to use cannabis with my hydrocodone because it would enhance the effects. Then I started working on State Question 788. I learned so much more about the endocannabinoid system that I got off all those drugs and all I use is cannabis now. I was scared to death to take a drug. Right on, right on. I was scared to death to take a drug test for ever 12 years. I throw out this challenge all the time. I will literally take a drug test right now and I will not test positive for hydrocodone, Xanax, Seroquel, but I will peg the meter on THC. I guarantee you that. Cool. Now, there's several things I would like to see as a patient. I would like to see a lifetime card. If you're under, yeah, there you go. If you're under 65, I'd like to see it $420 because that's basically online with a lifetime hunting and fishing license, which I do have. Once you turn 65, I'd like to see that turn to $4.20. I like $4.20. Also, I'd like to have a barcode or a chip on my card because those 24 digits, if there's a line in the dispensary, it's hard to get in there. There's several more things I can ramble on for. And let's see, what else have I got? I'd like to see home delivery because we've got several people that cannot get out. Yeah, that's it. Okay, we'll bring up this morning, my anxiety was just off the scale. I live by Lake Thunderbird. I've been awake since 4 o'clock this morning. I've got stigmatism. I cannot see at night. Our governor, you need to use some paint in Oklahoma and paint the lines on the frickin' highway because I am a hazard driving at night. If you want to ride with me sometime at night, let's go because you'll have a great time. But we all came up here because we are so dedicated to this plant that has helped so many people. Time's up, I understand. But again, cannabis did save my life. Right on.
Thank you. Thank you. So do you want me to ask the governor to paint the lines on the highway or? Okay. Okay. Thank you. You started out very positive. I appreciate that. And I want to respond and let you know we agree with you that the 24 digit is, yes, and the licensing team over here is saying like, yes. We are wanting to actually go to hopefully fully virtual, digital. And we have been looking into that. It's we have a list this long of things we are doing, and so we will get there though. I promise we will get there.
I forgot to say, I'm no 1-820. There you go.
Okay, speaker number 2 is Jed Green.
All right. Here we go.
I'm always nice, John. Until I'm not nice. But we're nice today. Okay, Barrett, have you got that time clock? All right, very good, sir. Wonderful job at the rules meeting. Okay. My name is Jed Green, and what I wanted to say here this morning at this patient assembly is to thank OMMA for doing this. Thank you. And I'd like to also thank everyone in the agency for your dedication and your hard work. Making OMMA a standalone agency was something that I and my fellow troublemakers have pushed for the last 4 years, and we're glad to have it. Now, you guys know that was a trick. We've got you isolated now. You can't hide in the Department of Health. So anyway, but no, it really is, and we really do sincerely appreciate doing this and the continued commitment to transparency across the board and getting that sort of feedback from folks in the community. I would also like to, for folks watching at home who didn't, brave the rain today, guys, do not take this for granted. OMMA doesn't have to be here doing this at the end of the day, and it matters. They say in politics that 90% of it is showing up. We were really happy to see a lot more folks show up at rules this year than last, but, for folks at home, you guys have got to show up. You have to encourage these folks to do this type of stuff and take advantage of the opportunity. do appreciate, again, listening on the one thing on patient licenses that I've heard a lot about and we're going to be pushing for. And we understand that there could be nuance, especially when you start getting into budget and revenue projections and so on and so forth. But we would actually like to see all veterans, not just 100% disabled veterans, be able to qualify for a discounted card rate. I understand that there's a bill right now that would actually remove the excise tax, the 7% excise tax from veterans, from them having to pay that. We obviously support that too. But fundamentally, we'd like to see all veterans, not just 100% disabled vets, be able to get that license. Of course, we would also like to see reciprocity with licenses from other states. And we would also like to see Oklahoma open up so that any legal resident of the United States could actually get a license. I understand that's a huge ask, but if nothing else, we would love to see some traction for our veterans. They provided us the freedom for us to free the weed to begin with. The only other thing that I would have to say is, again, appreciate the stuff that's going up on the website, appreciate all the information that goes out there. Of course, with folks like me, it just begets more questions, but we appreciate everything that OMMA is doing and your willingness to show up and do this type of stuff and host it. So thank you.
Thank you, Jed. I did not foresee you being under your time.
Well, I mean, you got it right there. It's like 24.
Okay, speaker number 3 is John Kumbis.
Okay, Jay.
Good morning. My name is John with JKJ Processing. Thank you for being here, Ms. Berry. Thank you, OMMA, for being here. I'm not going to take too much time because I'm going to allot a lot of my time to my dude, Steve Miller here. But I want to say this. What are you going to do for the patients? Because we all know that what really takes place is we could sit here, we could talk all day long till Sunday, but the people up at the Capitol are the ones that are going to make the decisions for us. They have eaten up, chewed up, spit out 788, and it's hurting our patients. So my question to OMMA is, what are y'all going to do to fix this issue and help our patients? And that's all I'm really going to say. But I do appreciate all you guys being here. I got more to say during the business meetings, but I do appreciate you guys very much.
Okay.
Speaker number 4 is Noel Miller.
Okay.
All right, cool. Office is coming up.
Uh-oh. And we're giving him the remainder, Jaron, we're giving him the remainder of John Kumbis's time.
Yeah. Hey, my name's Noel Miller. Everybody here knows me by Steve or Pops, is what they call me. I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to us. I've got essential tremors. It has 3 parts to it. What you see is one of them, the shaking, the utter shaking. I also have an inner tremor that goes. It feels like you're sitting in one of the massage chairs at the mall, and foot set on high. That's going 24/7. It doesn't stop. However, I was 2.5 years ago, I started taking one of the RSO products, and it started calming the inner tremor down a lot, enough for me to sleep, and I've never slept in my life before a night. I've got 1, 2, 3 hours of sleep a night, and that's it. I can get a good 6 to 8 now using it. Also, there's a cognitive part of this, which you can tell. I mean, I have to stop and think a lot. I can't, there's times I just can't, especially in high anxiety places. This disease is centered at the cerebellum, and it causes a lot of problems with me. It actually manufactures anxiety, I found out just not too long ago. Now, something I wanted to do is to show you what this medicine does for me. And I'm serious. I can show it to you. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes it's a topical. All I have to do is rub it on. And I've got it out in the car. I didn't bring it in because I didn't know the laws and everything that goes with it. But if you would allow me, I would like to do that. I'll show you. This is a spiral that they draw for essential tremor patients to find out if they have essential tremor.
Oh, okay.
This is me after I medicated.
Oh, wow. Yeah, very different.
If you don't mind passing those around to everybody. But it's yeah. But I can go out, medicate, and come back in and show you.
Oh, yeah, I
Or,
don't know any reason you couldn't.
okay,
Yes.
I'll go out and get it and come back in and finish my time.
Yeah.
But if you want, somebody can go out with me and see the process I use to do it. And,
Absolutely. Josh would love to go.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Good job, brother, good job.
Next time, Steve, bring it in. Yeah, we can move on and then when he gets back.
So speaker number 5 is Kim Hughes.
I got it. Yeah. If I'm all checked out.
I know, me too.
Like, for real.
Can I ask a question? Any of these questions that the speakers are addressing, do you plan to address those today publicly besides what we already submitted?
So I think that you asked if I'm going to address any of the questions that people have submitted, and I mean,
No, ma'am, not that we were already previously submitted to the speakers.
the lifetime card. So what we're planning to do, Naomi is taking notes and collecting all questions, and we also collected all of the ones that we've received, and our plan is to, where's Kelsey? Is our plan to do, I mean, we have everybody's email addresses, and I know that we're planning to respond back. There's some that they're in the works, and that's my plan to tell you. If we have them in the works with our project management office, I will indicate that to you. If you guys want me to answer you while you're up there, stay and let me answer you. I'm happy to do that. We can do it however you guys want to do it.
I was thinking that those that we submitted, we registered, there would be an answer today. If not, then I'd like to see if they could be. That's my question.
Yes, Naomi, are you planning to answer all the ones that were submitted?
So we are taking the notes and then we're going to go through them and follow up and send emails on the ones that we're working on to those that submitted the questions from the speakers.
But they're just saying that if they're not even going to address the ones that the speakers are, I mean, I can get up there and reiterate what I've already previously submitted, but I'd like to have it addressed today, is my question.
The time that we are allotted today is just for people to come up and speak and Adria to respond in person. And so that's why the notes are being taken for follow-up afterward.
Yeah, we did receive 291. Yeah, so we're doing our best. Some of them are not things we can even respond to or that there are answers to, but we can definitely try.
I will go.
Okay, go for it.
I don't think I need to lower this because I'm pretty loud. My name is Kim Hughes. I'm a patient. I'm a hairdresser of 37 years. I'm a grandma of 10. I do know Steve personally, and his story about his drugs that he was on is such a real story that I hear in my chair every day. Talking about patient patient cards and people getting their medical cards, the first key to that is educating our state. If we can take books away, we can put books there. So I think that educating on the endocannabinoid system and how it helps you stay balanced, we would have less money needed for drug rehabs later if we are educating now. I want my grandkids to know what keeps them healthy as they get older, not what prevents them from things after it happens. I think that it's a state's responsibility to do things like that, and I think that as patients coming together, it's a very big deal. Like, we need to make sure that our voices are heard and that we are educated about why we need cannabis. If older people knew, if younger people, you know, if it's been so demonized within the whole entire country that it's little pieces etched away in our communities that help break the stigmas and help making it, like, I'm so tired of hearing that mama needs a glass of wine, you know, mama needs a joint should be just as acceptable as mama needs a glass of wine. We do not have an alcohol system, but we do have an endocannabinoid system. People need to be educated on this because it's being said way too much. And I've lost 5 people in my family to prescription pill overdose. So I'm very much a plant over pill advocate, and I want to see it normalized so kids aren't looking at it like it's bad as they get older. I think it's our responsibility to do that and put the education materials out there. So thank you. Thank you for letting us do this.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comments, yeah. Thank you for your comments, Kim. And I do think it's interesting, and you said the state's responsibility, so I think we've got work to do on figuring out the state's responsibility to educate people and learning the science of the endocannabinoid system, the true science, and that's where working with the medical community and the science community is key, and figuring out the actual science. So we're starting there. We're working on it.
Yeah, letting the actual medical community feed their endocannabinoid system without judgment is a good place to start as well. I know that's a federal thing, but it would be good for states not to look at that badly, you know? Hi, Steve.
It works just like that.
Wow.
Because I've got some people out there 17 working days that applied for their license, they still haven't got it yet. They've been approved. When do you count the 14 days? Is it from the approval?
Oh, on patient licenses?
Uh-huh.
I will ask our licensing people in a moment and find out what's going on.
Okay. And your mic is not picking you up very good.
Okay.
I'm back.
So Josh says that it worked like that. Tell us what you did when you were out there.
We came back up in and I put 6 drops on my wrist and rubbed it in and we walked straight in. Right? It's a topical.
Go ahead and tell what was the topic? Was it an RSO topic?
It's a RSO base. I don't know a lot about it and I don't want to know. All I care about is this. Yeah, this is all I care about. And I was telling him, I've been on 23 different pills. There's no medication strictly for essential tremors. Nothing available.
God's plan is.
Exactly. This is why I've been searching for this for 3 years. Talking to geneticists, growers, everybody, right? Y'all have seen me out. I've been all around trying to get this fixed. Comes down to mom and pops. That's who made this. It does. We need mom and pop. They know the medicine. They know it. They've known it for years. Nobody but them is going to make true medicine. They put love into it. They put everything they've got into making these meds. This is two people that made this. Unknown. Nobody knows them. But they know me, and they wanted to help. That's where this comes from. That's the culture that we live in. And I'd like to invite y'all out to some events. Come see what happens out here.
Okay.
Come meet the people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much for sharing your story and everything with us. And for the invitation. We will make sure, I'll follow up with you after this.
Okay, speaker number 6 is Andy Maroney.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Director Barry, Chief of Staff Brown, hello. I have 4 or 5 main points I just wanted to bring up today. I'm here first as a patient. I've been a registered patient in 3 different states for the past 10 years, and I do think that the system we have here in Oklahoma is very efficient and is working well. I do applaud OMMA for the strides that you've taken in the past year or two to really improve the transparency and ability for us patients to know what's going on. But I do have a couple points I definitely want to bring up that I don't think everyone talks about or thinks about. You mentioned earlier you had increased training for the agency, which is fantastic to hear. I was wondering if any industry representatives are being consulted with or are on an advisory panel of some sort along with that training, or if you're hiring any folks out of the industry to represent that. I come from a training background, wink, wink. Second point, we talk about labs a lot and testing SOPs and evaluating labs. One fundamental flaw I personally find with the whole lab testing process is self-submission of samples. Is there any thought, or has there been any thought to give into, having the labs actually come out in their white lab coats with their gloves and take the samples themselves so we know there is full transparency? Point number 3, the transparency project you're speaking of with all of the analytics looks fantastic. NCS is a great firm, and I trust their results. It seems like the focus has been placed on the production, though. All the producers are being tracked. Are we tracking any numbers on patient consumption versus the production rates? Because that's been a huge point in this state. We're putting out way more weed than we can possibly consume. So if we can get those numbers together and start looking at that, maybe we can figure out why the licensing is going down. Maybe we can figure out why the patient counts are going down. It's not, not brain surgery. So I would really like to see some transparency on the patient side as well. Point number 4. I am here primarily as a patient, but I've also been working with Oklahoma growers and processors for the past 3.5 years as a third-party integrator. We were here before Metric. We were working great for 2 years, standalone, before Metric came along. Integration comes along, the API comes along, muddles up the works a bit. So we've been working very diligently to try to help educate our vendors, our clients, on our software as well as how it works with Metric. And my question is, has there been any thought given to creating some kind of third-party vendor hotline to OMMA representatives? So when we have a question, if we're training our folks, we want to train them the right way. We want to advise them the right way. And we're not really legally able to do that because of liabilities and whatnot. But if we had someone from OMMA or an email address that we could consult with and get the real deal answer without having to wade through all of the different rules, statutes, legislation, et cetera, that would be super helpful. I believe that's my time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy. On the industry employees within OMMA, we do have more than we've ever had. People who have worked in the industry that now work at OMMA. I will say that. Labs and the self-submission, yes, that's a legislative thing, and we have talked with the legislature about some changes to that and some changes within the QA lab structure regarding who can submit, who can go out and pick up samples. So we're tracking there. We hear you. Patient consumption tracking, I like where your head's at. We hadn't gotten there yet, but I like that idea. And maybe some of our staff has gotten there and I just hadn't thought of that yet. That's very possible. Third-party integrator hotline, hadn't thought of that yet either, so thank you for that idea.
Okay, so we have one speaker left, and that is Nikki Weed Gossett.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I want to reiterate, thank you, OMMA, for being transparent and for hosting these kinds of meetings. I was really excited about the convention and wanted to ask you about that, so thank you for answering that question for me already. I did want to ask if 820 were to pass, I would assume that OMMA would undergo a name change. I'd just kind of like to advocate for OCA, the Oklahoma Cannabis Association, so that we can remove the stigma and honestly the racist undertones of the word marijuana. And is there a plan to audit OMMA now that it's its own standalone agency? We all know that State Department of Health isn't exactly transparent or ethical or responsible with money. Just to make sure that it's on the, going along with transparency and trust to create a reciprocal relationship between industry and regulatory authority. An audit would probably be, at least something that shows that, hey, we're not trying to take on what Oklahoma State Department of Health, and their bad habits into this new authority here. And what is the name of the lab that's contracted with the OMMA? Is that NCS? No, I don't think it was. Metis? That's what you said.
We are not contracted with a lab at this time.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Quick question too, why isn't TSET money being used for the ads for anti-smoking?
This is, I'll wait till your time up. Is that when I can actually go? So use your time and then I can use them.
Gotcha,
Yep.
okay. Thank you for finally focusing on labs. Thank you for that. That's been an issue for quite a while. And then for the future conventions, I forget what you called it, what we were supposed to have.
A conference.
Conference, thank you. For future conferences, are there going to be other agencies involved like OBNDD and like legislators and, other agencies besides just OMMA, because we know that it's not just OMMA that kind of handles this. And then also real quick, request or suggest a sliding scale for out-of-state patients getting a license, something like a 0 to 90-day card for $50, 90 to 180-day for like $100 for the reciprocity. They're still patients. I don't see why we should be railroading them at $100 a month, especially when it takes 14 days to be approved. I've got a friend from Florida who's a patient, came to Oklahoma, is supposed to be here until April. That's, a good $400 right there when she is still a patient, whether she's in state or not. So some sort of sliding scale with out-of-state reciprocity licenses. Zero. Thank you.
Okay, yes, and I'm happy to answer all your suggestions and comments and go into a little more detail, especially since we have extra time. And this is a good opportunity to talk about a few things, but the conference, I agree, I was really looking forward to it. I've been hyping it up all year, and so it's like a anticlimactic situation, which is why we wanted to have these, but we want to involve all of the regulatory bodies that touch medical marijuana. So our plan was to have 4 lanes. And one of the lanes will be specifically for patients, and so it will, that one may not have all of the different agencies, but there will be another lane that does focus specifically on other agencies that touch medical marijuana in some way. And so it would be up to every attendee to decide which section they want to go to at any given time. So once we get that information out there, you'll kind of see. So it'll be very, very holistic. We're going to have legal track, medical, patient, state agency, just to kind of very holistic. And our goal, not goal, but one of the things we're working on is making sure that we are talking more about the other agencies that we work with, because we've had a lot more communication with DEQ, Department of Ag, OBN, State Fire Marshal, LP Gas, Attorney General's office, just to name a few, very consistently this year, like all the time. And they all touch the industry in some way. But as far as the name change, if 820 passes, since 820 is statutory, that would be a legislative decision. And so I think that would be something you'd want to talk with the legislature about changing. It's not included in the language of 820 as far as I know, so it would need to be addressed statutorily. There are people with all kinds of ideas for names. Do you want me to tell yours? Yeah. Barrett's idea is the Oklahoma Cannabis Regulatory Association. So we would be called OCRA. I'm not a fan.
It's greens. Makes sense.
Audit, yes. Our executive team had an offsite, and that was one of the exact things we talked about. Pre-planning for an audit just to get it out there. And not just financial audit, just everything audit. Just dig in. Yeah. We want to dig in, and we want to know our own blind spots and financially, departmentally, process-wise, all of that. And I will say our largest department, compliance, has already done an internal audit. She has dug deep and really done an internal audit already, and that is something we will be doing we're not a department anymore, agency-wide. So yes, look forward to that. We are begging for that kind of thing. We want loft even, like dig in. We are not opposed. And then the QA lab, we were contracting with Metis until last fall, I believe it was. Last fall? Yeah. And we are no longer contracting with them, and we are looking at our options moving forward, and we hope to have a I have lawyers in the audience, but
You're a lawyer.
I am a lawyer, but in this role, I am not a lawyer. I'm an executive director, and a QA lab is very important. And we know the importance of that, and we know the importance of it being very, we know the importance of there being no, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for, guys? No, I'll think of it. I'll think of it in a minute. I need some of what you've got, Steve. I'll skip to the next one. Oh, but independent from yours. Okay, so the DMH, it was Department of Mental Health, so they used some of their funding to do a campaign on specifically cannabis vaping. Yes, for youth. And it was in response to, I think, the education community saying, they were seeing a lot of cannabis vaping in middle schools and high school. And I think it's a social media campaign. I just learned about it very recently. And it's called Own Your Power. And they used some of the funding that came from 788 to fund that. The funding that is apportioned over for mental health and substance abuse from 788 is staying in what's called a 206 fund, and that's staying at the Department of Health.
But it's specifically for mental health?
Yes. And your sliding scale for out-of-state patients suggestion, we are taking that suggestion. I know we get a lot of requests for that, and so I know that it's something that we have out there as a suggestion. I don't know where we are on considering that, and I do think it's a statutory thing, so we would need to it would need to be a conversation with the legislature. So I think that you are the last one. Since we do have time, we can open the floor for anyone who wasn't able to sign up that would like to have 3 minutes at the mic, and we can go from there. Jed? Well, let's let this gentleman go since he hasn't gone, and then, okay. So just introduce yourself, please, when you get to the mic.
I hear a lot of negativity. It's one of the reasons I came up. So is the mic still on? Okay. It's all right. My name is Jeremy Melvin. My friends call me Cake. Y'all can call me Cake. Thank you guys so much for having this open forum day. I love it. I love adding faces to the organization that I've been hearing and dealing with so much peripherally. But I'm here as a representative, yes, on 820. I cannot speak on 820 publicly just because I'm not approved for that and the things that just so happen to fall out of my mouth. But I can speak on this on a personal level. I'm very compassionate about cannabis. I've been a personal advocate for cannabis and somebody who breaks the stigma of it. And I'm very proud to be working on 820. When we're done, I would love to talk with you, some of you guys, about the reasons that you don't support it or the things that you have against it. But the question that I had when I came here today was, how do you guys plan on engaging the black market? Because I know that it's probably the reason why we're not having any of these licenses be reinstated or having I see it a lot on the street. As people are more worried about buying through someone else and doing it illegally rather than going and getting their license, which I tell them all the time, you should. It's good. The way that we're going to defeat this war on drugs, the way we're going to break this stigma that we have on cannabis is by engaging it legally, is by taking the reins. Because if we don't, a lot of people have worries about big corporations coming in and taking over or like big companies coming in. Well, if we don't take the reins as the people, they are going to. And while it may have positive ramifications in certain ends, there's going to be a lot of downside for us as the people if somebody else is making the decision for us. The question I would have is how do you guys plan on engaging the black market? I feel like it's something that could be engaged and converted into a positive resource for us. That's about all I have to say.
Okay. Well, so yeah, the illicit market, I don't know that they can be engaged.
I do.
The ones I'm thinking of, so the true criminal element, the true criminal organizations that have made their way to Oklahoma are not the ones you're seeing. I mean, they're not the ones that we just see hanging out selling dime bags. They're smart and they're really integrated in the communities that they're in, and the Bureau of Narcotics and the DEA and the FBI are have eyes on these groups.
When I speak of that, I guess I should clarify. I'm not talking about criminal organizations.
Okay.
I'm talking about us as the people that are engaged in the black market. Because for the longest time, that's all there was when it came to cannabis.
Well,
there
tell me
wasn't
more
a
about
legal
that.
market. Tell you more about that? I'm sure we all understand that. I mean, we bought grass off the streets for how long?
You're on live stream right now.
That's fine. I'm great. Like I said, I'm not here as a representative of 820. I'm speaking as myself right now.
Well, so no, really, truly, tell me what you mean about that. Do you mean just people who see it? It's easier just to buy from a friend than go to a dispensary?
Exactly.
Okay.
There's a lot of people like that, and
Okay.
like with the end of prohibition on alcohol.
I gotcha.
Right. We still have moonshiners. We still have bootleggers. There's people that are still making things illegally, right? But they had to engage the people and convert them into doing things legally, right? And so like when I'm talking about that, like I said, I don't mean the criminal organizations. Obviously, we need to find a way to dismantle these organizations. I don't want like to have the cartels come in and be selling weed and like dispensaries, but like our everyday people that are like disenfranchised with the local government. They feel scared to get their information out there to get a medical card. Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want my information on another thing the government has. Well, we have to find a way to engage that fear, break that fear, and get them to come into this. Otherwise, the black market's going to still stay around. It's going to be alive. It's going to be flourishing.
I appreciate you telling me all of this because you have no idea how much people don't want to say the words you just said to me. So it's better to be honest though. It's tough. I mean, what do we do? What do we do? Just like sit outside people's house and wait for them to?
More things like this.
Okay.
More
Well,
things
I
like
appreciate
this,
that.
engaging more people. Like I'm going to bring many more people. Like I said, I'm here interested as an individual as well as part of the organization.
Well, I appreciate that, and we are interested in doing what we can, and analogizing it to the like 1920s with alcohol prohibition. We have a lot of work to do. It takes time, and appreciate your advice and your insight on it. Truly.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for letting me speak. And again, if anybody would like to have a word afterwards, I'd love to talk.
Oops. Anyone who did not speak yet want to speak? Yeah.
Good morning.
Can Can you state your name, please, just so Naomi can keep track? Thank you.
Lawrence Payne, RN. And I am here just because I am an RN. I'm an endocannabinoid specialty professional RN. And first, I heard it already, but the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority just runs through me every time I hear it. Cannabis is a medication, and we keep calling it marijuana and keeping the stigma on it. It ain't right. So we need to change that name. Anyway, as a person who has multiple sclerosis, I mean, y'all look at me, you can't tell, but I hurt all over. It's terrible. This medicine is my medicine, and it is saved my life. You know, it's took me off of all those medications. It needs to be. So my thing is, here we are in this state, and we have a chance to let those people come from other states and have 90-day cards, and we can set up something and start doing the studies like Israel's been doing for 100 years. And we can do all the endocannabinoids. We can be the state that can blows it out to the nation. You know what I mean? So let's just open it up to that. That's all I'm asking. Lawrence Payne, RN. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And you said you're an endocannabinoid specialist. You are? Okay. I'm interested in knowing more about that, so maybe we can talk offline.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hawkins, and I just, we see a lot of patients. We have a patient advocate company, and I'm just curious if there's any funding earmarked, because there's still a lot of drug education that goes on in our high schools. And I'm just wondering if OMMA has any intention to partner with the DARE program or some of the programs that are still educating against marijuana. They are showing 20-year-old videos. They are showing the boards with what a joint looks like, what heroin looks like, what all the things look like. And I'm just wondering if in the future, going forward, how are we intending on educating our school system to what our medical program looks like?
That's a great question, Jennifer, and it's not something we have considered, so I'm glad.
And a lot of the people that present at high schools are doctors. They're very educated people. They wear their white coats, and these kids think what they're saying is the truth, and what mom is saying is just her doing her thing in the bedroom. So I'm just curious that if that's even been addressed, and if not, I'd be interested in talking more, because we work with a lot of schools and kids that are in school systems that are using cannabis and how to make that work. So anyway.
Thank you, Jennifer. Jed, did you want to go again? Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, are we on here? Okay. Something that some of the other comments brought to the forefront of my mind was I noticed that the state recently, it looks like they've got a large settlement from the opioid industry. And so we're talking to the tune of $1 billion roughly. And my understanding is just shy of that. My understanding is that about 90% of that is supposed to go directly to treatment and things of that nature. And so this is just off the top of my head. I wanted to bring that up because, as has been described here, you know, marijuana is not a gateway drug. It's a gate out of addiction to opioids. And we can provide, I'm sure that a lot of us know a lot of folks, some of us are those folks, but, you know, and I don't know where this lands or what this looks like, but it would be a crying shame if the state did not have some sort of interaction there. I mean, we're talking about, 788 was passed to provide for mental health and substance abuse services. Some of those dollars were earmarked there. You know, just, you know, that further linking in the education on the endocannabinoid system and some of the research that's out there available from Israel. I mean, is the state going to spend $1 billion of this opioid settlement money and never even once look at cannabis as an alternative that has been demonstrably effective. So I just wanted to bring that up. This is really early. Also, the other thing that I did want to mention as well is, yes, goes back to some of the analytic numbers. When the question was raised, hey, okay, so we see these gross production numbers in the analytics, like, okay, we've got 8 million plants or whatever it is. We all know that an indoor plant grows a lot less than an outdoor plant, and I think that the data that was being requested could probably fairly reasonably be gotten to by simply saying, what are the retail sales? You guys have got the data on this vape cart was sold or this ounce was sold. How about a reconciliation of those versus the actual products that are coming in to get some idea there?
Yeah, we're mining all of the above.
Okay, thank you. And here's why this is important. I was at a town hall last week, and our good friends at the Bureau of Narcotics were throwing around what they proclaimed was fuzzy math. We're circling back with them on their fuzzy math, but they, as they are going forward and making their budget requests, they're floating around some numbers. I think their fuzzy math was, they said that the average consumer uses a half a gram of marijuana a day, and therefore they bear with me, folks, and therefore we are producing 5 million times the amount of marijuana that we need. Now, I had a talk with them and I said, look, you've got to compensate for concentrates. Believe me, a blunt is a lot more than a half of a gram. So there are going to be policy and budget discussions that are happening, and we need to be a little bit better than fuzzy math when we're talking about that, and we're talking about, kind of what the expectations are and, how much is being produced versus how much is being consumed, and therefore, what's going forward there. So want to say that. I do also, to the questions that are coming about 820, and I'm sure you've got a lot of them. There are a lot of people that want to skip the process of A, reading it themselves, B, being involved in the process, and they just want to go straight to OMMA and say, well, what's going to happen with 820? Obviously, OMMA, if 820 is to pass on March 7th, is going to be sitting there waiting on legislative direction before they can do an awful lot. I mean, fundamentally, it enacts in June, and then OMMA is given 90 days to create an entire rulemaking process, have to, implement those rules. It doesn't say when you actually have to start taking applications. Maybe the legislature gives further direction on that. It does say that there will be an entirely duplicate licensure system, which nothing against the hard work of the last year, but we're a little concerned about what that might look like if you have 10,000 people all hit Ventia within a day, what that may look like. And I don't expect any comment on this, but I just want to make sure that folks are aware that OMMA really can't answer a lot of questions about 820 right now. A, it's got to pass. B, the legislature's got to get their hands on it. And once that's done, then OMMA will be in a rulemaking process, which hopefully everyone would be, involved with on that. But again, the reason we're all here is because we were here to support medical marijuana. We were here to get folks, the gateway off. We were here, to help folks with different conditions, So, there are a lot of folks that are concerned about that, and God only knows what's going to happen, at the polls on March 7th. But if it does pass, thoughts and prayers for OMMA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jed. Absolutely.
There is another patient on their way that's 15 minutes away that wants to speak.
That's fine.
Oh, everybody said hi to you too, Bob. Wave hi. There, Bob's gonna be up there speaking. Okay, that needs to be self-switched. Ask them when they're gonna take the taxes off.
The big point that all this was, I wanted to say in this, and I did tell him, we really, really need, before 820 gets even considered, get medical running right, please. Because, I mean, 820 comes in, it's going to be a whole new ballgame, and it's going to kill medical, and I don't want that. There's too many people we can help out here. And with this formula that I'm taking now, it kills anxiety like that. It'll keep a lot of people out of jail. It'll empty our jails some. It'll do a lot of good, and that's.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So on the 17 days, we take 14 business days,
14 working days, yeah.
and then it goes into the mail. So are you saying it's been 17 days since?
I think it's 17 days since your approval has been.
Oh,
So, how it works is it takes 14 business days for us to review an application. We don't ever take 14 business days.
Right.
Our goal is to never reach that goal. And then it will print the card the very next day, and it goes out in USPS mail. So if it's been 17 days,
Okay.
please contact us.
It should be there this week.
It's possible that it's gotten lost in the mail,
And
and we'll do
the
everything we can.
holidays, yeah.
Yeah, and we will certainly assist the patient with getting a new card if they need one.
I just get that question all the time.
Sure.
And most postal services right now are experiencing a weird slowdown. I don't know
USPS has
what it's
been
about,
delayed.
but it's causing you guys a lot of problems.
USPS announced a delay in their delivery services before the holidays.
Trust me, I know how
So, yeah.
swamped y'all
It just
are. I
hasn't-
understand, I get it.
Yeah, but we're more than happy to help if they're needing a replacement.
I have a quick question to piggyback on that. Is it now okay to use the approval email
No,
without the card, or still not?
it's still required the dispensary to review it.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Was this on? One of my questions that I submitted at the time of registration is, I'm cannabis physicians answering, so I do a ton of patient licensing. Yeah, we have. The 14 business days has come into play probably since October. They are taking 14 business days. Before we put Thinchia into place January of '22, I saw OMMA take 24 hours. It gradually just has gotten larger to the point of October, since even into December. Now it's taking multiple weeks, 3 weeks, because we had closings, mail delays. And so this email is very important to the patient because they are waiting to get that email with the license information. When the email comes, I get about 5 or 6 a day. 2 out of 5 won't even have the licensing information printed on it. So I have to provide that to the patient. The patient has to pass it off to the dispensary. If it's there are some dispensaries that will accept that email. But when OMMA's drops that information off, and I just think it's a software issue, then they're not going to accept a handwritten number. And so I'm an advocate to let's get this process, up to par. And let's get the cards in the hand. And then you have to wait 30 days. If the patient doesn't receive the card, you have to wait 30 days to request a replacement card. It used to not quite be that way, but that's the way it has been for several months. My other question that I submitted was the out-of-state patient licensing. Is it a 14-day turnaround? Because as I license patients on the borders of the state of Oklahoma, they are here for the day and they can't come back in 2 weeks from Florida or Arkansas or Missouri to get their card so that they can purchase. They're here for a reason. They're here for a temporary period of time, and they have a card in another state. And I'm asking, is there an expedited process to get that license into the hand of the patient?
Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about our licensing system just really broadly and say that I hear your request loudly, and I feel your pain. We feel your pain on the needing it to work properly. We're holding our vendors' feet to the fire, and we are keeping them accountable to doing their job, and we're working with OMMA because we see the same things you're seeing, and are not pleased with some of the things in our. We have them on a plan towards improvement right now, and are holding them accountable.
Your vendor.
Thintia.
Okay, thank you.
The software. So we are working diligently. We've had to do some overtime. I want to let you know that we are not ignoring the issues that we see with the software.
Okay.
Because we know that it directly affects the patients. It affects all of our licensees. What I want you to know is that on the back end, we are doing everything we can to fix the issues. So we see those issues, and thank you for bringing them to us and making sure that we know that they're happening. We don't want them to happen any longer than they've been happening, and are doing everything we can to fix them. And so there are people in this room that feel your pain, and they feel it on the other side of on the other side of things, and feel the patient's pain on the other side of things, and want it to be fixed as well. On the out-of-state license processing, I think the intent in the statute was for them to apply before they get to Oklahoma, right? I mean, you're coming to Oklahoma, so you apply before you get here. I believe that would take a statute change to do a quicker turnaround. So we would need to look at a legislative, it would have to be a legislative change on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're bound by what the statute says there.
Okay.
Yeah. But the licensing software, we are actively working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, can you let Naomi know your name so we can make sure to stay in touch with you on that?
Michelle Liu.
Can I ask what somebody just asked me?
It's the John Kumbas show now.
I mean, we can do it. Is your position gonna be now appointed by the governor?
Well, I am actually an official governor appointee.
There you go.
As of November 1st, I'm a governor appointee. I do have to be confirmed by the Senate this spring.
Okay.
Don't get any ideas.
No, I won't. Listen, I have the utmost respect.
I'm just kidding. But yes, I am a governor appointee. So that means, yes, I'm held accountable by him and the executive branch directly. Do we have any staff that would like to say anything or have any comments? Come on. You want to, Lee? So Lee Rhodes runs he's our chief science officer, and he runs the department that oversees the lab compliance and investigative teams, and he is our longest standing member of the executive team at OMMA.
You're too close to that speaker, Lee. You always switch.
And he is just I can't even express to you how lucky we are to have Lee in state government, and how lucky we are to have him at OMMA. And I feel blessed and lucky to work with him every day. I learn something from him every day. And you guys he cares so much about this job. He's a man of integrity, and his team benefits from his eye for detail and his attention to, he wants the products that you guys receive to be safe. I promise you that. And he wants to know that the labs are doing things properly. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Lee Rhodes.
Thank you, Adria, very much. After that, I think I probably just better sit back down. Just a little bit about me. My family, there are two professions in my family. One is in the healthcare. My great-grandfather was one of the first physicians in the southwest part of the state. My father was a well-respected physician. Many firsts for him, but he was the first director of the Indian Health Service who was a Native American, appointed back during the Reagan administration. I'm a member of the Kiowa tribe. And my oldest son is a physician. I have aunts and cousins that are all nurses, or they're teachers. So we're all come from a service to the people background. So for better or worse, that's myself. I'm a little bit more introverted, so my medical involvement has been in medical laboratories. And I'm going on 40 years as a laboratorian, and I've fortunately found myself with some leadership abilities, so I moved up in the supervisory ranks within about a year after my first job, to the point I progressed, had management positions with several of the largest across the country reference laboratories. Right before this job, I was the administrative director for Deaconess Hospital and Midwest Regional Hospital at the same time. 2 full-time jobs as a laboratory director. And the reason why I want to bring that up is that my goal is to bring the rigor for testing to the cannabis testing world. And it's no secret to you all that we're not quite there yet. But just to let you all know that it's not the principles of quality management, quality systems are not foreign to me. And so that's the direction I'm trying very hard to push things in. And quite frankly, it's been pushing a rope uphill quite a bit of the time. But we are making some progress. And in fact, the support from the legislature to actually put something in place so that we can come up with method performance standards and that kind of thing that's backed in the statute that I know we can put into place, and therefore we can at least get more confidence into the lab results that are being generated. That way you all don't have to wonder, okay, which lab did this testing on this product, trusting that what you're purchasing is going to do what you want it to do and not do something to you that you really don't want to have happen. It's still kind of a frontier, and I've keep in touch with my counterparts at other states. And so we're not unique in this situation that we're in. We're actually starting to collaborate. So broaden our sphere of information, knowledge that we can take in to try to put the best things in place. But it will evolve over time as this industry evolves. And the standardization project is well underway. I've interacted with all of the labs pretty closely for quite some time now. We've actually been having what I call roundtables, focused not so much on rules and regulations, but on testing methods and that kind of thing. Anyway, I now have a good idea who are the people that I think have it together that can contribute to this project, and who are the others that are going to benefit from what we develop. As you saw on the slide, there's occasionally been labs that, okay, you just don't need to be here. We focus on that as well. At any given time, we've probably got 4 or 5 investigations going. And as Adria said, I have a team that are really technically proficient They will go to a laboratory's instrument and say, let me see the chromatogram on this analyte. We will do the math based upon what they say their math is supposed to be. And we will occasionally confirm the result. We will also occasionally say, there's no way you got this number from this. So, and when we take appropriate action, when that happens. I do want to say I appreciate every one of you all coming out. I've had the conversation with Adria a few times. As I said, I come from a medical background. My family comes from a medical background. Patients should be at the apex of all decision-making. And not to, and I may decide to not come tomorrow, but when the businesses show up, but it seems to me, from my point of view, we've been focusing an awful lot on the commerce side of this industry and not on the patient safety and well-being. So I say that not to pat myself on the back, just to let you know that there are people in OMMA who are focused on where this industry is designed to be for the medical patient. So thank you.
Thank you. We can take questions. Sure. Can we take a question? Do you feel like we missed the mark? Do you feel like that we missed the mark on labs?
The question is, do I feel like we've missed the mark? And I'm not quite sure.
On labs, because right now we're 4 years in, and now we're talking about, oh, let's get the SOPs for all these labs. Do you feel like that should, because the labs, I'm talking as a patient as well, and a business owner, the labs is the final check mark. The labs are what allow these patients, they're entrusting these labs to say, okay, this product is safe to go to market. Steve's taking it. So do you feel like that we dropped the ball on the lab? Do you feel like we should have focused on the labs first to make sure, because listen, Metis, the $10 million, I don't know what that company did for our industry except for take our $10 million. Yep. So I'm just asking you because you're a lab dude.
Yeah.
You're a lab rat. Like,
I don't think we necessarily dropped the ball. We're to be honest, we're really doing some greenfield plowing with laboratory testing in the cannabis space. In where we may have a couple of things that in hindsight now maybe didn't get us as far down the road as we would have hoped. For instance, a requirement that you become accredited to an ISO standard, 17025. And then assuming that if somebody has that, they're good to go. 17025 gives you a piece of paper on the wall. And so that's why we've built up the laboratory team. At one time, for a short time, it was just me, then I brought 2 people on. We now have, as I mentioned a bit ago, 6 investigators with direct experience in the techniques that are involved in marijuana testing. So it took us a while to know what that gap between capabilities and results actually are. It takes us a very long time to do all of that analysis that's involved in figuring out, okay, is somebody really not very good at this? Are they not following the rules? Are they well-intentioned, but just need some guidance, that kind of thing. So I don't necessarily want to say we dropped the ball. There were some things that kind of, along with the rest of this industry, maybe didn't happen in a really good sequence. For instance, the requirement that products be tested to took effect in August of 2019, which preceded me by 2 months. The rules, even the emergency rules for labs, did not go into effect until November of 2019. So those labs that were in operation up to that time were all doing it all their own. Have to backtrack, learn to do something else. There's a lot of expense involved in doing that. Your investment for the equipment to do this testing is going to run you about $1.5 million. So there has been some aspect of let's start getting things happening in the sequence that they do. Fortunately, laboratory testing, no matter what you're doing, whether it's your home COVID test or you're doing heavy metals testing, has to happen in a certain sequence. And you know at what points in that sequence you need to implement a quality control check to make sure that the next step is going to be okay. We are really gathering steam as we go. I do think that the opportunity for Oklahoma to really show the way with regard to everything else is there for laboratory testing as well. So I hope I kind of answered your question. And I'm not one that's going to spend a lot of time, we should have done this, we should have done that. Here's the problem in front of me. Let's tackle that. Yes, sir.
I'm not here to shit on anybody either. I did have 2 other points I wanted to make somewhat related to this.
Andy, do you mind coming to the mic so that it's recorded properly?
2 kind of somewhat
We'll
related
ask you
points.
next time to do that.
One is regarding safety in the industry, and another is regarding waste. Safety primarily for our patients, that's our number one concern, obviously. So we've had child-safe packaging, we've had opaque packaging, we've had clear packaging, we've had exit bag requirements. All of this contributes to a huge amount of actual packaging waste, and it contributes to a huge amount of effort on the packaging and producer's side to put it into the 3.5 gram Mylar bags that will never go away. They're going to be in a landfill forever. So as far as the safety, I mean, this is one of the safer industries. Vodka bottles do not have child-safe caps, so let's pat ourselves on the back for being there. However, we are also making lots of parallels to the alcohol and beverage industry, and a lot of our regulation is based upon that, not in this state necessarily, but in many states. It's alcohol, tobacco, and firearms enforcement that's responsible for keeping track of medicine. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But my question is there an impetus or a movement toward the packaging, or is deli style still going to be available as an option for our dispensaries to help reduce the amount of waste? I saw a statement one time showing 1 month of the average cannabis patient's containers, the waste that they produce from the plastic and the packaging, compared to 1 month's worth of black market consumption, which is a Ziploc baggie. So that's the only point I want to make. It's a wasteful industry. I would love to find some solutions to help cut back on that actual waste while keeping things safe. Thank you.
I'll comment a little bit, and I hear you loud and clear. And the legislatures come in every year and kind of change the packaging a little bit here and there, and there is a lot of waste. I agree with you. And I think we'll continue to see some changes. There's still going to be legislative discussion around pre-package. I'm looking at Barrett because he has those conversations with a lot of legislators, and here's what they're talking about. And so I do think you're going to see that at the legislature this session. We will have to see how it goes, but a lot of it just is about the political climate in Oklahoma and what is the priority. Is the priority eliminating plastic waste or not? So have those conversations with your legislative representative and senator, I would say.
James Seward. I drove all the way up from Lawton. And this is just me. I appreciate everything y'all are doing, but I'm a 12-year veteran, Army veteran, and thank you. I feel like Lawton area, we have a lot of veterans that use medicinal, and we get lost. Like I said, I had to travel all the way up here. So I had to leave my house at 5 o'clock in the morning to come all the way up here. So are there gonna be more stuff down that area? Because I just feel like it's the whole government. Like Lawton is a big military community, but we just get lost. Like we don't have anybody coming down there doing, we always gotta come up here. So that's all I want, just, are y'all gonna start coming down there doing stuff like this so it will be more people coming out?
I appreciate you coming here. I genuinely mean that. And thank you so much for coming here. We are gonna travel the state coming up this year for listening sessions around the state, and we will intentionally make sure we come to your part of the state. So thank you so much for pointing that out. We get so comfortable here in Oklahoma City, and we absolutely know we need to get out to all parts. Thank you for coming down here.
Whenever you travel, is it gonna be posted on the website of where you're gonna be?
Yeah, we will put this everywhere. We will do email, website, social media, all the things. And we're planning it for the fall. We had to kind of strategically plan different things. So it'll be in the fall that we start our, right, Kelsey, I'm looking back there, that we will do our statewide listening sessions.
Hi, my name is Samantha Schoen, and I'm kind of here to represent the pediatric patients in Oklahoma. We have about 1,564 right now in our state. And all of those patients that have their cards have had to go through the process of getting 2 recommendations. And I don't know if you know how much recommendation services cost, but they're anywhere between $35 to $150. So you're taking these kids that absolutely have to have this medicine to stay off of very serious medications that are mind-altering for the rest of their lives, body-altering for the rest of their lives, just physiologically damaging to their bodies, rather than giving them this plant. And then you're telling them that they have to pay anywhere between $70 to $250 just on the recommendation. That's not the upload fee or anything like that. Now, if they have state insurance, the upload fee is $22.50. If they don't, it's $104.50. So now you're looking at about $350-ish for a patient that at least one parent that they have is likely staying home with them. So it's a one-income family, and that's really hard. So you guys are running into a lot of problems with adolescents with cannabis use at schools and stuff like that don't have medical cards. My suggestion would be to maybe take that recommendation down to 1. It's really hard on families to try to do that. And you have a lot of patients in this state that aren't 18. And they need this medicine just as much as 18-year-olds do.
Samantha, while you're here, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
In your experience, so do you have a medical background that you help these pediatric patients, or is this just something you kind of studied and gotten into?
Before the cannabis industry in Oklahoma, I worked for hospice care. I have a medical history, but my emphasis since being in this industry has always been pediatric patients.
So what do you see that pediatric patients need it for mostly? Because this is a statutory requirement, and so it would be a conversation with the legislature, and they're going to have these kind of questions about what is the main use for children, and so that's something that we'll need.
It's a huge range. It's just as big of a range for pediatric patients as it is for adult patients. We see patients that have pediatric patients that have severe anxiety. To the point that their anxiety is debilitating. We have patients that have seizures, 15, 20 plus seizures a day. I've been working with a specific patient from her day 1 of being a cannabis patient. I actually supplied her card for her, and she now has gone from having 15 to 20 seizures a day to maybe 1 or 2 a week. And that's 100% because of her cannabis use, because she's not on any other medications now. So to more specifically, like it's everywhere. It's just as broad. Like these kids need our help, and we need to stop railroading this medicine to where they can't get it.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
Andrea, I would say, just to add to that, epilepsy is.
Do you mind coming to the mic just to make sure it's on the recording?
Because I agree, this is very important. It is very important. But to add to that, with regard to minor patients, epilepsy is huge. ADHD or ADD, which results in anxiety, is another one. Pain, not so much. What I and my physicians recommend, I do support 2 physicians with regard to a minor. The reason why is because I use specialty physicians that do understand pediatrics and healthcare with regard to licensing. But I recommend a topical if we've got a pain issue, not so much indica, and I with regard to seizures and ADHD, of course, use the other usually edibles versus smoking and vaping. But that's just my feedback from multiple patients and what I see every day. I do see patients that have taken ADHD medications such as Adderall and Ritalin and Vyvanse and are zombies and have developed tremors that for the remainder of their life. So they have significant neurological damage from taking those kind of, I'm going to say, amphetamine pharmaceuticals. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you for that. Jennifer? Yes, please.
I just think this shows some importance of why we need our high schools and our elementary schools educated. Samantha, that's a great, we see so many minor patients that are using cannabis without a card simply because they can't afford the card. So it's the basis, can I get my child seizures under control this month, or do I buy their card this month? And they're choosing the seizures, so something else to.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Do we have any other remarks? Yes, Samantha. You're fine.
There was one more thing I wanted to say. We have to put the not safe for children and pets on every single product. Like I said, we have 1,564 pediatric patients in the state. That's not appropriate anymore. We need to take kids off.
Okay, thank you.
Say remove that warning. I understand not safe for pets because THC is not safe for pets. But when we have patients that we're treating here, can we stop slapping them in the face because it's safe for them and we proved it. Science has to.
Okay.
And how do we help their educators understand it's their medicine? If it's plainly stating on their bottle, then it's not safe.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the stigma, that's why they keep pushing. They're like looking for reasons why not. They're like, what if the children get it? Well, some children need to have it for illnesses.
And all children have an endocannabinoid system.
Everyone.
Yes.
Every one of them.
Breast milk produces CBD. So if we are getting cannabinoids from the second we are born, why are we not continuing that pattern throughout our lives to keep us healthy?
Literally having the entire system in our body that God gave us the medicine to use for. It causes homeostasis.
Yes.
In your system. So, I mean, how could we not all just want to run around in complete homeostasis all the time? So, anyway.
Exactly. I agree.
Thank you all for all of this. And I just got a text that I'm going to ask you that you will touch base with Naomi up here, the wonderful Naomi. if you want us to follow up, just make sure that she has your name and email, and if your question wasn't answered, we will make sure that we do that. I know that we will be combing through and making sure we can answer anything we can after this. Thanks so much for coming. We have the dispensary town hall at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and then tomorrow we have grows and processors. Thank you for starting our town halls of 2023 off on a calm and positive note. I'm going to carry this through because as you guys can imagine, we'll need to just carry this through. So thank you so much.
All right, everybody, I'll be back at 1 o'clock for the dispensary line.